All right, everyone, thank you very much for being here. This is the first event of what's called the Success Series, which is an event that's designed to show everybody all the different ways that they can be successful with the same degree. This is the first session, of course, being the Sociology Anthropology session, but there will be a session for every other major under careers with social impact. Next month will be psychology, then Africana, Gender and Identity Studies on November 5th, politics and government on March 11th, pre-law April 8th, social justice February 15th, and international studies in December. We have a great panel assembled here today to kind of talk with you about their experience, what they've done since they left OWU, the different context that they've gotten out of it and how it's helped them in their career. So I'm going to turn it over to them and just have them introduce themselves, give you their name, their title, what they majored in at OWU, and kind of what they've been up to since. And we'll go ahead and we'll start with David.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like Newton said, my name is David, OWU class of 2013. I majored in sociology, anthropology, and minored in philosophy. Since graduating, I've kind of had a couple different roles. My initial thought was to go into community planning and city planning as well. Spent some time in that space through various internships and volunteer opportunities, but higher education never left my mind really. So then I went on to earn a master's in higher ed administration at Bowling Green State University, just a little bit away from y'all in Delaware. And since then, since graduating with that degree in 2017, I've been working as an academic advisor in the College of Public Health and Human Sciences way out in Corvallis, Oregon. Nice to talk to you this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Mitchell, why don't you go next?
This time I unmuted myself, so that's good. Making progress. So, hi, everyone. My name is Mitchell Bryant. I am actually the class of 2007. So getting ready to celebrate 15 years gone, which is really, really bizarre. But my major obviously was sociology and anthropology as well, and had a number of different jobs in between college and now. I'm currently the director of county operations for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Ohio. So my office is located literally right down the street from Ohio Wesleyan in a little white house called Andrew's House. So prior to that, I worked with babies from birth to 3, working with child development. And then I actually moved completely across to the other side. Sorry, my children started doing something with music. I went to the other age group. So I started working with older adults at the health department. And so I always knew I wanted to get back and working with kids. And so I have the great opportunity to watch relationships get built from a mentoring perspective now. So great to talk to you all.
Fabulous. Thank you, Mitchell. And last but not least, we have Annie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annie Papenhagen, class of 2015. At OWU, I double majored in Soc Anthro and Psych. And then I went on to go to grad school at Michigan, and I did a dual master's in social work and educational leadership and policy. My career path has, some different industries and turns. I originally trained to be a therapist, and then I worked as a director at a private education company. And now I actually work in tech, and I lead a people operations team and diversity, equity, and inclusion for an organization within a larger tech company called Salesforce. And so I make sure employees have a good experience and do a lot of DI initiatives. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for the introduction. And so I have a couple prepared questions, and then from here, of course, we'll open the floor for any general questions. And then the second half of this programming is going to be kind of some one-on-one connection time, where you'll have some time with each of the panelists to talk with them about their journey, about if you have any questions about your own or kind of how to get there, that they can definitely help to answer those. So the first question we'll go into here is just thinking about your sociology anthropology degree from Ohio Wesleyan, and how did it really prepare you for your current role? And bonus points if you can recall the professor or the course name. Annie, why don't we go backwards and start with you?
Yeah. It's hard to remember like specific course content, but I feel like just like the general ability to like read complex materials quickly, maybe even skim them if you didn't have time to do all the readings, and write in a like strong way definitely prepared me. I do a lot of reading and synthesizing writing in my current role. I think having the opportunity to work closely with professors, I did a fair number of like independent studies. I did a independent study with Ted Cohen. I think that is something that sticks out in my memory, just having that like really valuable one-on-one time with faculty and getting to kind of like explore my own intellectual like curiosity there was definitely important. But reading and writing for sure.
All right, Mitchell or David?
Sure, I can go. So it's interesting when I decided that I was going to major in sociology and anthropology. It was not my first major. That's not what I came in to do. It was actually international business and Spanish, funny enough. So there was a moment in my life where I said, you know, I really wanted to change the world and work with kids because I felt like I couldn't change adults' minds. And as I'm getting older, I now realize that that is very accurate. But so I went and I started taking a couple of just regular sociology classes. And I grew to love just the idea of learning about people and how we tick. And I took a class called The Family, which I don't know if that still exists. And I took cultural anthropology, which was very enlightening to me, and learning more about urban societies as well. So I have great relationships with, sorry, now my dog every time. Hi, stop it. So yeah, I had great relationships with Mary Howard, John Durst, but they really, you know, prepared me to kind of go into that nonprofit world because they understood that so well. So
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess when it comes to my experience with the sociology major, I think my main takeaways from it, looking back, is if you want to be working with people, especially in those helping professions like in social services, education, equity and diversity, anything that has you know, people as the goal. This is a major that's really great in helping you empathize and sort of think in ways to, you know, best help to support those folks. I think the professors, if I'm, you know, I'm hoping they're still on staff here, but Alper Yalchinkaya, Paul Dean, Ted Cohen, also took some classes with Mary Howard and Jim Peoples, so I think they're retired. But no, lots of great things to take away from the SOAN faculty.
Absolutely, yes, and they are all still here. Paul Dean is actually the head of the department now. Theodore Cohen retired, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I think Mary Howard also retired a couple of years ago. But other than that, everyone else is still here, still doing great things. Yeah.
Well, shout out Paul Dean.
Yeah, he is great. If you haven't had a chance to talk with him yet, he's a great professor, a great mentor, and just really great at helping you find direction if you ever need it. So kind of going off of that same thing and just talking about work skills and kind of transferable skills, as all of you probably know, and I'll talk to you about when we work on your resumes, whenever that is, everything is now skill-based. Everything comes down to how you can use the skills that you have in order to solve problems. You know, the job title doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot. It's the skills that you bring into the equation. So thinking about the skills that you learned or perfected or, you know, taught yourself on during your time at OWU, I'm just curious if there's one specifically that you could share with our current students, just to, you know, let them know that how important it is, even though it may seem trivial, or just how vital it really is in the workforce. No particular order either.
I'll go because I think I got rid of all the distractions that just occurred every time I go to speak. So we're gonna try to get through this one.
It's okay. You never have to apologize for dogs or Dear Evan Hansen, so it's all good. Yeah.
Every time my kids are like playing a song, I'm like, stop it. So, you know, honestly, relationship building was is the big thing that I can think of. Being at a small school and getting involved in all sorts of different things, whether it be from the fraternity perspective. I learned a lot about recruiting, which is something that I do on a daily basis, and giving presentations and stuff like that. So I really learned a lot of just some soft skills while I was there, learning a lot about myself. And so being able to take, some of that into the workforce, and more so now as I am hiring folks, I'm looking for some of those same skills. And crazy enough, I actually keep hiring folks from Ohio Wesleyan because they are getting those soft skills that I'm looking for. But definitely relationship building. I think that is something that was very huge for me as an extrovert, going into a smaller school and being able to learn how to build strong relationships with folks was definitely a big part.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm guessing OU hasn't changed that much in the 6 years or so, but I think lots of folks are very involved, maybe even over involved in different things. And I think honestly, like my student involvement activities really did prepare me for the workforce. I think balancing so many different projects, event planning, leadership skills. I did a lot of different things. I think definitely Greek life and living in a SLU both really prepared me for my professional life. Just even how to like run a meeting or set an agenda or like have a level of professionalism. I think that really gave me like foundational skills early in my career, especially. As well as just like breadth of social justice knowledge and work as well in my current work.
For sure.
Yeah, I think both Annie and Mitchell really highlighted some key things there. I don't know how much I have to add on to that, but I guess what I'll say is in my current role, I'm working with college students day in and day out, and it's really apparent how well prepared a student might be if they're taking advantage of those extra opportunities, if they are getting involved in, what you do in the, rugby team or the, research class or whatever else. That may or may not carry into your career field directly, but at least having the opportunity to try things out, get messy, does build some resilience and some grit, which is something else I will echo about what's like to be a student at OU. I think there's a lot of opportunity to try different things, and hope y'all are taking advantage of that while you're there.
For sure. Well, thank you all. And I know one of the things I'll mention real quick is OU is great. If there is something you want to pursue, or there is an opportunity or an experience you want, that you have the ability to make that club or to bring that research experience to school. And there's so many different ways to do that, whether it's relationships with professors or just starting your own club, that, we always encourage that kind of exploration. And if you want help, let me know and I'll help you bring it. I'll help figure out how to do it. So thinking about job searching and thinking about, building resumes and building in, applying for internships, building cover letters, there are so many different factors that go into it. And I know from the outside in, it can be a little bit intimidating. So I'd just like to ask each of you for a couple pieces of advice or one piece of advice or something that you found valuable about doing something related to that, whether it be in finding an internship, building a resume. Just what piece of advice would you give?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Newton, I'll start this one off because I actually just accepted a new position this afternoon. So
congratulations.
For a minute, yes, thank you. So for me, at least, the main takeaways, what I took away from this latest job search, and this is always something I have to work on and remind myself, is when you're building that resume, when you're building that cover letter, make sure you use the language used in the job posting. Because that does two things. One, it outsmarts the algorithm that's going to filter you out. And two, it's going to show to the employer that you can walk the walk and talk the talk. Different companies, different industries have different ways of, talking about the same thing. What might be what might be, a student ambassador for one group might be intern for another. And knowing how to translate that language is a big piece.
Well, also, can you tell us what the new job is?
Sure. So I'm going to be working for a Chicago-based mental health organization, remote position. So I'll be keeping nice and cozy over here in Oregon. Yeah, looking forward to the next challenge.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks, Newton.
I think the main thing that I wish I had known when I was job searching was I felt a lot of pressure to figure out like what I wanted to do with my life. And like, there was just so much pressure on that like first job out of college. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like every choice there like felt like that was going to determine like my whole life path forward. But I would say, having worked in 3 totally different industries at this point, that at any point in my professional career, if I had been able to said like, what will I be doing in 2 years? I would have been flat wrong. And I think I have been so unable to predict my current career path. And part of that has been realizing that like what a job actually like feels like what it's like to work with people, how often you're in meetings, like how often you're doing kind of like heads down project work can be pretty different from what it seems like it will be like when written on a job description. And so on some level, until you start that first job, it's hard to know what kind of work you will like. If someone had said like, this job has a lot of spreadsheeting, I would have been like, that sounds terrible. That sounds like the worst possible job for me. But as it turns out, I love creating project trackers. I get really into it. And I couldn't have known that or predicted that. And so I guess I wish I had known to both try to like focus on like what a job will feel like how often you're on the computer or in meetings more so, and do you feel like you'll like working with those people? Like, do you feel like you get along with the folks there? Then feeling like that's going to determine like your whole industry path forward. Because I've just like taken each job, what I liked about it, and then just leaned more into that. And my next role is just more about that thing that I liked from my last job, and just kept doing that over and over again.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I'm glad you're somewhere where you're happy. Mitchell?
Yeah, Annie, what you said is like so like ringing. It's just crazy because I'm like, man, if I look back to my very first job, I would have no idea that this is where I was going to be. When I was in college, though, I started to think now, I'm like, I think this is what I thought I was going to do, but it took a while, right? And so one of the things that I have learned and what I would encourage is that you need to look at the different opportunities that you have within whatever you're doing. So in college, like, what does that look like? I was in a fraternity, and there were certain pieces of that, my role in the fraternity, that translated well into the jobs that I was looking for. In my, in the jobs that I had, though some of them I didn't really care for that much, but I got involved, and it really wasn't my job title or job description that led me to the next job. It was all the opportunities that I took within the job. So whether it be different committees, to then, be able to get my hands wet in something else that wasn't in my normal job description. And I honestly believe that that is kind of what led me to where I am now. Most of my jobs did not involve fundraising at all. However, I did a lot of fundraising with the fraternity in different committees for different nonprofits that I was working for. And I was able to put that on my resume as something that I did. And so I think, finding those little pieces, and not just look at your day-to-day, what you do in your job description, but kind of being a little creative too, and say, you know what, no, I have this experience because I did it here, or I do it in my volunteer world. It's not necessarily just what you're doing in your 9 to 5, 40-hour-a-week job.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mitchell. And kind of going off what Mitchell and Annie said, I'm just going to throw one more little thing in here because I think everybody kind of alluded to it, but the idea of failing forward, the idea that every job isn't going to be the perfect job, that every internship isn't going to be the perfect experience, but everyone is going to have something that you can take from it to make the next one better, whether that's a skill or a relationship or just, learning how to do spreadsheets or organizing things better. Just every little piece helps. So we always try to promote experiences no matter what, even if it's, not the best experience, you're still going to take something away from it. And especially as you start looking for internships or jobs, these are great people to reach out to just to kind of ask about, how they got where they are, how did you get your first internship, those kinds of things. So I think really, I didn't prepare a whole lot of questions. So really what I'd like to do is I'd just like the panelists to give some closing thoughts real quick. And then what we're going to have everyone do is we're going to have everyone turn their camera on. We're going to unpin everybody and we're just going to chat for the rest of it. Because I think with this small of a group, we'll do it all in here, but we'll turn off the recording. But just some closing thoughts from David, Mitchell, and Annie, just to kind of close things out. And then we'll open the floor for questions and provide some networking opportunities.
Yeah, I guess I can start. SOAN majors, it's so broad. It covers a lot of things. And so I think this really is an opportunity. It can feel very overwhelming to say, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with this? But it really, for me, it started with where was my heart? Like where was the passion that I had? And just starting there, and not feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with the sociology anthropology major? Because you really can do all sorts of things. As you've heard already from the three of us, we're doing three totally different things. And I'm actually kind of jealous and I want to learn more about what you guys are doing because I'm intrigued. And my wheels are turning, like maybe that's something I want to do. But just know, and I think that's one of the beauties of this major, that you can really kind of determine the path that you want to take, but also just know that it's a journey. And so just one step at a time. If this is the job that you're going to have right now, this is the job you're going to have right now, and figure out what you can gain from that and move on. I would also add, because I see this a lot, don't rely necessarily on the job, your employer to provide the skills that you need in order to move on to the next thing, whether it be being promoted within that organization or moving to the next role, but be forthcoming and do your own development, because I think a lot of folks look for that and ask in interviews, like, how are you going to develop me? And the question is, how are you going to develop yourself within the role that you're in? So that's just something that I see a lot with a lot of the younger folks coming into the work. I can't believe I said younger folks. That I feel really old, but that is something that we do see a lot. And so it's something I wanted to make sure I share with you all.
Thank you, Mitchell.
I can just do my quick plug for tech. I think that living in Ohio, being like farther from the centers of tech, I'm not technical at all. I don't know how to code at all. I don't know how to do any of that. And I never would have considered that someone like me with my skills and interests would find a fit in tech. And so there are so many jobs for folks that have kind of the multifaceted skills you get from like a SOAN degree within tech. And so I wish I had known that coming out of college. It's my quick plug for like people operations, recruiting coordinator. Both of those have like entry level, any like program manager title job. Both have entry level jobs within a lot of different industries. But I think looking at people on LinkedIn where you think their jobs sound interesting, looking at what jobs they had before that to see like the different career paths that someone might take is something I definitely did, but just leaning into your interests.
Absolutely, that's great advice.
Yeah, I think Mitchell and Annie, again, have really touched on a lot of things that I would have touched on as well. So props to them. I suppose the last thing I might add to all of this is that it's okay to change, and that trajectory can and looks different for different people at different times in their lives, and that's completely okay. But in doing so, you should give yourself the space and the leeway to take a step back and not only appreciate the opportunities you've been given, but also to focus on yourself when need be as well. Job searches are stressful. Jobs themselves can be stressful. And you're going to be doing yourself a service if you also are able to put time and energy into the things that really give you energy back. So for somebody, maybe that's, crafting, baking, cooking. For me, that's bike riding. And so those in some ways do also become part of your professional journey so that you're able to fill up your gas tank, so to speak, and then put that energy back into your work.
I think that makes perfect sense. And thank you all for your insight. And of course, now I think what we'll do is I'm going to stop the recording real quick.